You know that moment, just after the alarm dies, in the hollow quiet of your own room. The day hasn't started yet, but the weight of it is already there. A low hum of dread. What is it for today? The meetings that could have been emails. The emails that demand a meeting. The report you'll file into a digital void, never to be seen again. You're not in danger, not really, but you feel accused of something. You just don't know what. This feeling, it has a name. We throw it around for complicated bureaucracy, for red tape. We call it Kafkaesque. But what if it's more than that? What if that word points to something far more intimate, far more human, than just frustrating paperwork? What if it's a key to understanding the quiet desperation of our modern lives? The guilt without a crime, the trial without a judge, the endless performance for an audience that might not even be watching. This is the story of Franz Kafka. Not the marble statue of a literary giant, but the man, the sickly, anxious son, the bored insurance clerk, the lonely soul who, in the dead hours of the night, wrote down the nightmares of the 20th century before it even knew they were coming. He died thinking he was a failure, that his words were worthless. He asked for them to be burned. They weren't. And a century later, we're still reading them, because in those strange, dark stories about men turning into bugs and arrested for no reason, we see a reflection. Distorted, yes. Exaggerated, but terrifyingly familiar. This is an exploration of that reflection, of what it means to feel Kafkaesque, and why, in facing that very feeling, there might be a strange, unexpected kind of hope. Let's start where we all start. In a family. Prague, 1883. Hermann Kafka is a self-made man, a force of nature. He built himself up from nothing with sheer will, a booming voice, and an unwavering certainty about how the world works. He is a human monument to success. And then he has a son, Franz. Franz is everything Hermann is not. Fragile, anxious, thoughtful. He lives in a world of internal whispers, not external commands. To Hermann, this isn't just difference. It's deficiency. It's a personal disappointment. Franz becomes a project, a piece of soft clay to be pounded into a harder, more acceptable shape. His father's love feels conditional, a prize for becoming someone else. Can you remember a version of this? Not necessarily a harsh father. Maybe a teacher, a boss, a culture. The message that the core of you, your sensitive, curious, uncertain self, is wrong. That to be valued, you must wear a costume. You must speak a language that feels foreign in your own mouth. Franz Kafka spent his life wearing that costume. His father forced him into law, a profession of rigid rules, when all young Franz wanted to do was write, to take the tangled, screaming confusion inside him and give it a form on paper. Writing was his secret rebellion, his lifeline. In his diaries, he called it a form of prayer. It was the only place where the anxiety, the guilt he felt just for existing, could flow out without judgment. But even this was haunted by his father's towering shadow. He wrote, "My writing was all about you. All I did there, after all, was to bemoan what I could not bemoan upon your breast." Think about that. His entire art, some of the most profound of the last century, began as a silent letter to a father who would never understand it. How many of us are still writing those silent letters, performing for a critic who lives in our head, who tells us we are not enough, not strong enough, not productive enough, not normal enough? So Kafka put on his costume. He became a lawyer, then an insurance officer. He sat at a desk. And here, his personal feeling of absurdity found its perfect mirror in the outside world. His job was to investigate industrial accidents, to assess the damage done to human bodies by machines. He spent his days drowning in paperwork, navigating labyrinthine corporate policies, writing reports about shattered limbs that would vanish into the files of a vast, indifferent system. He saw firsthand how bureaucracy, efficient, logical on paper, could become a nightmare of senselessness. The system wasn't evil. It was just empty. It had a logic that cared nothing for human logic. He'd work long, grueling hours, then come home to his empty apartment. And there, in the silence, he would write. Not about epic battles or grand romances. He wrote about the war that happens in a quiet mind. The battle against a world that has replaced meaning with procedure. He produced his masterpieces in this way. The Trial, The Castle, Metamorphosis. He barely showed them to anyone. He certainly didn't think they were masterpieces. To him, they were failures. Unfinished. Unworthy. He was the man in his own stories, toiling away at a task whose purpose was obscure, for a reward that would never come. When he died of tuberculosis at 41, he left a final instruction for his best friend, Max Brod. Burn all of my manuscripts. Every page. Brod didn't. Let that sit for a moment. The man who gave voice to our deepest modern anxieties died believing his voice was worthless. He lived and died inside the judgment he feared most. The ultimate Kafkaesque twist. He was both the prisoner and the judge of his own genius. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many Kafkas are walking among us right now? The person in the cubicle next to you, with a universe of ideas locked inside them, convinced they're nothing special. The parent, the student, the artist who has buried their voice because the world or a parent or a past failure told them it didn't matter. How many people will never know the impact they could have had? Kafka's tragedy is our first clue. The Kafkaesque isn't just out there, in a confusing government form. It starts in here, in the gulf between who we are told to be and who we secretly fear we might be. So what did he actually write? Let's step into his two most famous nightmares. Not as literature, but as mirrors. First, Metamorphosis. Gregor Samsa, a traveling salesman, wakes up one morning to find he is transformed into a giant insect, a monstrous vermin. Now, here's what's brilliant. What's the first thing Gregor thinks about? It's not, how did this happen? Or how do I change back? No. His first thought is, oh no, I'm going to be late for work. My boss will be angry. How will I support my family? His immediate concern isn't the metaphysical horror of his new body. It's the social horror of failing his obligations. His family, from the other side of the door, only care that he's not opening it, that he's not getting to his job. His transformation is, in a way, just an extreme version of what he already felt, like a disgusting burden valued only for the money he provides. The bug isn't the cause of his alienation. It's the physical manifestation of it. Have you ever felt like a bug? Not literally, of course. But have you ever felt fundamentally wrong? Out of place? Like your true self, if revealed, would be met with revulsion? So you hide. You scramble to keep up appearances, even as you feel yourself becoming more and more isolated behind your own locked door. Gregor's story is the fantasy of our worst self-image made flesh, and the terrifying realization that the world often treats us exactly as we fear it will. Then there's the trial. Joseph K., a respectable bank officer, is arrested one morning. But no one tells him his crime. He is never formally charged. He is simply told to await his proceedings. The rest of the novel is his desperate, increasingly frantic attempt to understand the system that has accused him. He seeks lawyers, court officials, priests, anyone who can give him the rules, the charge, a path to innocence. But the system is a maze of corridors, dusty offices, and cryptic officials who offer contradictory advice. The law is hidden. The more he struggles, the deeper he sinks. In the end, he is never found guilty by the court. He simply accepts his guilt. And he is executed in a shabby quarry, like a dog. The horror of the trial isn't that the system is brutally efficient. It's that it's opaque, illogical. It operates on a dream logic. Your rational mind, the mind that says, if I just find the right form, talk to the right person, follow the right rule, I can fix this, is useless. It's like trying to use a map to navigate a fog. The system doesn't want your understanding. It just is. Can you feel the echo? It's the healthcare bill no one can explain. It's the corporate restructuring where the goalposts move daily. It's the feeling of being measured by metrics you didn't set, for a purpose that's never clear. It's the vague, pervasive anxiety that you might be doing something wrong, but you'll only find out when it's too late. You are both the accused and the only one who seems to care about the accusation. So here is the heart of it. The Kafkaesque quality isn't just the absurd situation. It's the human reaction to it. It's the desperate, rational itch in an irrational world. Kafka's characters are not passive. They don't just give up. Gregor the bug spends chapters trying to communicate, to manage his family's affairs from his room. Joseph K. exhausts every avenue of the law. They try. They use reason. They seek clarity. They believe deep down that if they just explain themselves well enough, the world will make sense again. And that is their tragedy. Their very rationality is their downfall. They are applying a tool logic to a situation that is fundamentally tool-proof. It's like trying to use a spoon to bail out the ocean. This is where Kafka connects to our daily lives in a profound way. We all have our itches. The nagging feeling that we should be further along. The guilt for rest, for not being productive. The anxiety that our relationships are built on shaky ground. The dread of invisible systems, algorithms, economies, social expectations that control our fates. And what do? We apply logic. We read self-help books, like this one might be. We optimize our schedules. We try to hack our way to happiness. We seek the rule, the formula, the answer that will make the unease stop. But what if some unease has no answer? What if the maze isn't meant to be solved, but simply inhabited? This is the existential kick of Kafka. He suggests that a core part of the human condition is the struggle against an absurd universe. A universe that didn't ask for our understanding and won't provide it. The philosopher Albert Camus, who was deeply influenced by Kafka, called this the absurd. The divorce between our human need for meaning and the universe's silent indifference. Kafka's genius was to take this vast, cosmic joke and put it in a dreary office, a cramped apartment, a family living room. He showed us that the universe doesn't shrug its shoulders in grand, cosmic ways. It shrugs in your monthly performance review, in a confusing text from a loved one, in the quiet of your own mind at 3 a.m. Now, this might sound incredibly bleak. Why would we want to engage with this? Why call it a key to hope? Because of the second, quieter part of Kafka's message. The struggle itself is the evidence of your humanity. Kafka's characters never fully surrender their desire for dignity, even as bugs or condemned men. Their struggle, however futile, is a form of rebellion. It's a declaration. I am here. This is happening to me, and I object. When you feel that Kafkaesque knot in your stomach, when you're filling out the senseless form, when you're performing a role that chafes against your soul, when you're trying to reason with an unreasonable situation, that feeling is not a sign that you are weak, or broken, or failing. It is a sign that your humanity is intact, that your inner compass still points toward meaning, toward justice, toward clarity, even when the external world has none to offer. The pain is the friction between your soul and the absurd. Kafka offers no salvation. No hero wins. But he offers something else, recognition, the profound comfort of being seen. When you read him, you think, my God, he knows. He felt this too, 100 years ago. You are not alone in your maze. Millions of us are wandering our own corridors, feeling the same absurd itch. His work is a dark mirror, but a mirror nonetheless. And in seeing your own face reflected in that glass, anxious, confused, but still searching, you begin a kind of self-examination that is brutally honest. He doesn't let you off the hook with platitudes. He forces you to sit in the discomfort. And in doing so, he carves out a space for authenticity. The writer Anne Rice once said Kafka taught her, don't bend, don't water it down, don't try to make it logical, don't edit your own soul according to the fashion. Rather, follow your most intense obsessions mercilessly. That is the antidote to the Kafkaesque world. Not to beat the maze, but to refuse to let the maze edit your soul. To write your silent letters, even if no one reads them. To acknowledge the bug, the trial, the absurdity, not as final verdicts, but as parts of the landscape you must travel through. So, let's bring this home. To your life. Right now. Your Kafkaesque moment isn't just at the DMV. It's in the gap between your Instagram life and your inner monologue. It's in the corporate mission statement that no one believes but everyone repeats. It's in the feeling that you are perpetually preparing for a test you never took, judged by a standard you never agreed to. What do we do with this? We don't solve it. We relate to it differently. First, name it. When you feel that specific frustration, the confusion mixed with guilt, the sense of absurd injustice, whisper to yourself, this is Kafkaesque. Just naming the monster takes away some of its power. It externalizes it. It becomes a thing you are observing, not just a fog you are lost in. Second, ask a different question. Stop asking, how do I fix this? Or what's the rule? When faced with true absurdity. Instead, ask, how do I want to be while I'm in this? Do I want to be the person who rages pointlessly at the automated phone system? Or do I want to be the person who, recognizing the absurdity, finds a tiny sliver of my own agency? Maybe it's a deep breath, private joke, a decision to be kind to the next human being I talk to, breaking the chain of indifference. Third, cherish the itch. That feeling of discomfort, that desire for something more real, more meaningful, that is your compass. It's not your enemy. It's the most honest part of you. Don't numb it with endless distraction. Listen to it. It is telling you where your soul and the world are out of alignment. It might be pointing you toward a difficult conversation, a career change, a creative project, or simply the courage to be quiet when everyone else is shouting. Kafka wrote in a letter, I think we ought to read only the kind of books that wound or stab us. If the book we're reading doesn't wake us up with a blow to the head, what are we reading for? His work is a blow to the head. It wakes us up to the silent, absurd dramas we live every day. But the goal of the wake-up call isn't to lie in bed in despair. It's to get up, to look at the confusing, frustrating, beautiful world and say, I am here, and I am awake, and I will carry my humanity, with all its desperate itches and fragile dignity, through this maze. Your struggle isn't a sign you're losing the game. It's a sign you're alive enough to question the rules of the game itself. And in that questioning, in that refusal to fully accept the absurd script, you write your own. Word by painful, honest word. So tomorrow, when the alarm goes off and the weight settles, remember the bug, remember the trial. Remember the clerk in Prague who saw it all coming. And then make your first act a small, quiet rebellion of your own. A moment of truth just for you. The maze remains, but you walk through it with different eyes.